test. All right, good morning. The meeting of the Cottonwood Heights Appeals Hearing Officer is called to order. It's April 8th, 2026. My name is Frank Nakamura. I'm the Cottonwood Heights Appeals Officer, Hearing Officer. Um, uh, could you state your names for the record of who's representing the city today? Charlie Halda. And I believe the applicant. Okay, thank you. Uh, First disclose that there are no conflicts of interest that I'm aware of The only ex parte or only communications I've had with the city are procedural. No substantive discussions have been made. Um, I want to start with the what's in the record. What what I have available to me. Uh, um, so what we have in the record is of course, the applicant application. There's a narrative, variance application letter from Intermountain Geoenvironmental Services, site photographs, slope maps, building and site plans. We have a staff report from the city. So if there's any objections, unless there's any objections, I would like to incorporate that information into the record for my review and consideration. Are there any objections to incorporate those into the record? Thank you. So today is, and the only item on the agenda is a variance request by Royal Coburn. It's actually to develop on slopes that are greater than 30%. As we proceed, we really want to focus on the elements. I think as I read the documents, you're very familiar with the 5 conditions that need to be you need to show in order to get a variance. So focus on that, particularly the unreasonable hardship and the special circumstances that are peculiar to the applicant's property. So let's begin with the city. You have a copy. Did you receive a copy of the staff report, Mr. Colburn? Okay, thank you. All right, let's proceed.
Okay, we'll get started. This is project number AHO 26-002. The applicant is Royal Coburn. He is requesting a variance to develop on slopes greater than 30% on property located at 7568 South Quicksilver Circle. Staff does recommend approval with conditions. The image here to the right, you can just kind of see the street view of the lot itself. It's an undeveloped lot. This following image here just shows the back of the lot. You can see how it steeply falls off on the backside. Just adding a little context. The subject property is lot 50 of the Prospector Hills #6 subdivision. This subdivision was platted back in 1978 under the jurisdiction of Salt Lake County. The lot itself is 0.23 acres. It carries a zoning designation of R18 single family residential, and it is in the sensitive lands overlay zone, which is known as SLEDS here in Cottonwood Heights. And the hazards that were identified are slope stability and fault rupture areas. Now, this variance is specific to the slope stability of these hazards here, not necessarily to the fault rupture or the fault areas. Again, a little background, as mentioned, this lot was platted back in 78 prior to the incorporation of the city and the adoption of the SLEDS ordinance. This map here shows it's the hazard map provided by the city. It does show that the property is encumbered by both slopes greater than 30% and the fault study. Now, this illustration does show that the majority of the site itself is encumbered by slopes greater than 30%, therefore, which actually, I guess, encumber encumber the buildable envelope as well, right? Therefore, for someone to develop this lot, to develop on this lot, a variance would be required. Which brings us here today, as the applicant has requested a variance to develop, on slopes that are greater than 30%. And the reasoning why is that so he can construct a single family home, provide access, and the necessary grading to construct that structure. Now, that structure has been designed in a manner to minimize the slope disturbance. Here, there's an illustration on this slide here. It does show the geological hazard study map that was provided by IGS, who the applicant did commission. And it does show, one, the slopes in red that are greater than 30%. It does show the building footprint where that does essentially sit across those steep slopes. When you do apply setback requirements and et cetera, That's essentially the only possible spot to build the home unless, variance is requested to reduce setbacks. And in that case, I don't think there would be enough area on the lot itself to actually to develop a large enough pad to build a home. As mentioned, and as stated in City Code 19.92.30, there are 5 criteria to meet for a variance to be granted. One is the literal enforcement of the zoning ordinance would cause any unreasonable hardship for the applicant that is not necessarily to carry out the general purpose of the zoning ordinance. There are special circumstances attached to the property that do not generally apply to the other properties of the same district. Granting the variance is essential to the enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other properties in the same district. The variance will not substantially affect the general plan and will not be contrary to the public interest, and the spirit of the zoning ordinance is observed and substantial justice is done. Following those criteria, staff has found that the literal enforcement of CHM of Cottonwood Heights Municipal Code 19.72.050A, would create an unreasonable hardship by effectively limiting the ability to construct a functional single-family residence on a legally established residential lot. The hardship is caused by a site-specific physical constraints, including the distribution of slopes exceeding 30% across the property, which substantially restrict the available buildable area. Additionally, the IGS geotechnical analysis indicates that many of these slopes are man-made, resulting from prior grading construction activities rather than natural terrain. Because the hardships arise from the property's physical conditions and prior disturbance, not from actions of the current owner, it is not self-imposed. Staff further finds that allowing limited development subject to the geotechnical mitigation achieves the purpose of this ordinance, protecting the public safety and slope stability without unnecessarily preventing reasonable use of the property. Staff does find that the special circumstances exist due to the presence of steep slopes exceeding 30% across the lot, the man-made nature of those slopes, and the property's status as a pre-existing platted lot prior to the SLED's adoption. These conditions are not generally applicable to other properties in the zoning districts, particularly those subdivided under current regulations, which are designed to avoid such constraints. Staff finds that the granting the variance is essential to allow the property owner to enjoy the substantial property rights, the ability to construct a single-family residence consistent with other properties in the surrounding subdivision. The subject parcel was established as a residential lot and is surrounded by developed homes. Without the variance, strict application of the slope prohibition may preclude reasonable residential use, thereby denying a property right commonly enjoyed by similarly zoned properties. Staff also finds the approval of the variance will not substantially affect the general plan and is not contrary to the public interest. The proposed use is consistent with the city's low-density residential designation, which is R18, single family, 8,000 square foot lot minimums, and represents compatible infill within the established neighborhood. Potential impacts related to the slope stability, drainage, and constructions are addressed through the required geotechnical analysis, the city engineer and DRC review, and the implementation of engineering mitigation measures to reduce those impacts of developing on those slopes greater than 30%. These requirements ensure that the development can occur safely and in a manner that protects the public health, safety, and welfare. Staff finds the approval of the variance observes the spirit of the zoning ordinance and achieves substantial justice. The intent of the SLED regulation is to protect against unsafe development on steep slopes, prevent erosion, instability, and drainage impacts. This intent is preserved through the required engineering analysis and mitigation measures which directly address these concerns. At the same time, granting this variance allows reasonable use of a legally created residential lot, ensuring that equitable and treatment consistent with similarly situated properties. Denial would result in an undue burden on the property owner without providing additional public safety benefits beyond what can be achieved through engineering controls. That said, staff finds the variance meets all criteria required, such as the hardship is not self-imposed. The circumstance exists due to the lot's configuration and pre-platted status. The variance allows a reasonable residential use consistent with the surrounding properties. Impacts are mitigated through engineering reviews, and the intent of the ordinance is maintained while allowing fair use of the property. Therefore, staff does recommend approval with the following conditions.
Please go through those conditions.
Okay.
On the record, please.
On the record. So the first condition is all developments comply with chapter 19.72. No additional waivers are granted. Oh, sorry. My screen's covered up right here. Okay. Okay, condition one, full SLEDS compliance. All development must comply with chapter 19.72. No additional waivers granted. Geotechnical analysis and mitigation. The second condition is geotechnical analysis and mitigation required. Site-specific geotechnical report required. All impacts from slopes greater than 30% or larger must be mitigated. Implementation of the geotechnical recommendations. I should probably read these actually from the staff report. These are kind of summarized. Was there a preference on that?
Well, these requirements are very critical. I would like them into the record.
Okay.
I had one question on that. Your city engineer has reviewed these requirements. Has the city engineer
That is correct,
issued
yes.
an opinion on this? Except this is what the city engineer is also advising.
That is correct, yes.
And has the city engineer worked with the engineer representing the applicant?
So they are, at this point, they're at the pre-scoping level, where they have commissioned geotechnical.
So we had a scope done in that.
Yeah.
That was when Salt Lake County. And then we had the,
Can you go up to the microphone just so we can capture everything? Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well-
So the original lot I purchased it from in 1999 by Agra did the full scope and study and did the digging. And it was the Cottonwood Heights recommendation. Adam had the Geostrata review it, and they essentially determined that 1999 was prior to the Cottonwood Heights ordinances. So essentially just saying that that was too old. So we've had IGES go confirm that the original scoping done in 1999 still stands to this day, and that everything is safe and buildable in those requirements.
Yeah, these are very critical requirements. You're not recommending a variance without these. These requirements are necessary to mitigate what that SLED's intended to do, and that is to ensure safety and encroachment into those slope areas. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands these requirements, because there's no variance without these requirements. Is that right?
And part of what my engineers found is that the slopes that exceed 30% were completely man-made. So
Yeah.
those weren't even a factor prior to the scope and removal of that in the 1999 report.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was thinking, well,
Okay.
if it's all determined at man-made slopes that exceed
Right.
30%.
So I would like in the record,
All right.
yes.
Yeah, and I'll go back and
From your
I'm gonna read it from the staff report. There are more. Yeah, the recommendations shown here in the PowerPoint are kind of
Okay.
summarized. So,
Okay. So I'm going to let you start over and, yeah, okay, this is from the staff report. Okay.
yeah, so these are recommendations as provided in the staff report. Condition number one, full compliance with SLED's requirements. All development associated with approval shall comply with requirements of chapter 17.72, sensitive lands evaluation and development standards of the Cottonwood Heights Municipal Code. Approval of this variance does not waive any other applicable provisions of chapter 7.2 beyond the specific relief granted for the development of on slopes exceeding 30%. Condition number two, geotechnical analysis and mitigation. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall submit a site-specific geotechnical and slope stability report prepared by a licensed professional engineering geologist. The report shall evaluate slope stability, drainage, foundation design, grading limits, and construction methods. All potential impacts associated with the development on slopes of 30% or greater shall be identified and mitigated through the recommendations contained in the approval geotechnical report. Condition number three, city engineer and DRC approval. All geotechnical recommendations, grading plans, drainage facility, and slope stabilization measures shall be subject to the review and approval of the city engineer and/or development review committee prior to building permit issuance. No construction shall occur until such approvals are obtained. Condition number four, implementation of geotechnical recommendations. All recommendations contained within the approval geotechnical report, including but not limited to structural setbacks, grading limitations, foundation design, slope stabilization measures, and drainage improvements shall be incorporated into the final construction plans and implemented as a condition of development. Condition number five, slope stability and setbacks. All structures and site improvements shall maintain minimum setbacks from top of slopes and other critical areas as recommended in the approved geotechnical report to ensure long-term slope stability. Condition number six, retaining wall and structural improvements. Any retaining wall or structural slope stabilization measures shall comply with the design standards and height limitations set forth in Cottonwood Heights Municipal Code 19.72.050 and shall be designed in accordance with the approved geotechnical report. Condition number 7, grading and erosion control. All grading activity shall be limited to the minimum necessary to accommodate the approved development and shall comply with city grading standards. Erosion control measures shall be installed and maintained throughout the construction to prevent sediment transport and slope degradation. Condition number 8, stormwater runoff and mitigation. Impervious services coverage exceeding 30% within the slope hazard area shall be mitigated through on-site stormwater retention and drainage improvements in accordance with Cottonwood Heights Municipal Code 19.72.040 subsection D. The approved geotechnical report, subject to review and approval of the city engineer. Condition number 9, ongoing maintenance responsibilities. The property owner shall be responsible for maintaining all drainage facilities, retaining structures, and slope stabilization improvements in accordance with the approved plans to ensure continued performance and site stability. Condition number 10, limitations of variance of scope. This variance applies solely to the relief from the prohibition on development within slopes exceeding 30%. This approval does not grant any relief from setback, height, or other development standards of the underlying zoning district, all of which shall be met. And finally, condition number 11, variances run with the land. This variance shall run with the land and shall apply only to developments substantially consistent with the approved plans and supporting geotechnical analysis.
Okay, thank you. Couple of other questions. This design, you've looked at the plans, construction plans. This is a reasonably sized single-family residence. You find that consistent with the surrounding neighborhood, character of the neighborhood?
That is correct.
There was some indication that other properties in the subdivision were granted variances.
So I believe, in the immediate subdivision itself, I found most of those were all developed prior to the incorporation of the city between 85 and 95. There was a similar request, I think, for the top of the world subdivision where the lot was already platted prior to the incorporation of the city, and a similar variance was granted.
Was that variance subject to similar types of requirements that you just stated?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's worth adding, but Adam had pulled up the stormwater mitigation in that little cul-de-sac right there. The original development did create a stormwater drain that runs north of the property. So hopefully that's completely clear of any kind of stormwater issues.
So if the variance is not granted, the lot essentially remains vacant, which would not be consistent with the surrounding character of the neighborhood. That probably.
And it would affect my life savings of buying that lot to build a home on this.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Howell. Over.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
Yes.
Any other questions that I can help with, or?
No, do you have any further comment?
I think what they've presented is reasonable, and I think able for us to work with those constraints.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Those requirements were stated. You have any issues with what has been stated?
I would say it was what's been stated, able to still go with the existing footprint of the house plans that you've already been presented with. I've made a significant investment in the engineering to work with that lot and the slope study and the stability for the plans that have been presented, and had it engineered, stamped to work functionally on that lot. As long as those don't impact the existing home plans, that would be my biggest concern.
You understand there's still city oversight, and
Sure.
you will have to comply with all this. This variance applies only to that one section in the what sensitive. I'm sorry.
Sleds, yeah.
Sleds. On the 30%, greater than 30%, all other conditions of the of that sleds still you have to comply with.
Right, and most of those other conditions that are stated regarding drainage, wall height, those are actually just pulled straight from the sleds ordinance.
Okay.
So those aren't additional requirements; those are just restating requirements of the sleds.
Okay.
Now you have an engineer advising you, is that,
Correct.
have they had an opportunity to understand these, requirements?
They did, and they provided a letter that I forwarded showing that the home that they've stamped and engineered and that we presented for this lot is sustained, buildable, safe, and meets the ordinance.
Mr. Nakamura?
Yes.
Just real quick, sorry, just a procedural thing. So we just became aware that the agenda for this meeting wasn't posted on the state notice website in accordance with the Utah Open Meetings Act. So I'm wondering if we should continue this to another meeting where we can have that formally done. I just don't want to be in violation of what the Utah Open Meetings Act requires. We did send a mailed notice to all the residents advertising the meeting, but the agenda didn't get posted.
I know I got a letter.
Yeah, so what we could do is select a specific day so that we don't have to delay it for another month. I believe it's a 24-hour notice for the
Yeah, it is a
the agenda.
24-hour notice requirement. It is,
So we could post it today and potentially reconvene tomorrow. I'll have to look and see if we would have to send out a new mailed notice. I don't think it's required as part of the process.
Yeah.
But if here in this meeting, we specified the day and time that we'll reconvene.
that's correct.
Then we
you
can
did.
continue the item. So
Mm,
I apologize. We were just
yeah,
noticed that.
yes. No, that's a specific requirement of the Utah Public Opens and Meeting Act, Public Open Meetings Act. Something that you have to comply with. I would have to look at my schedule. That would,
I'm flying for work to Seattle tonight. but,
Tonight,
I mean, I
yeah.
can postpone or do what I have or have my.
no,
come in.
no, the, the other problem is when you send it out notices to the public, you gave this date and time as well, right?
Right. And I mean, I
Oh.
assume that folks would be here now if they were planning to to make
Yeah.
comment, but we could also send another mailed notice. That would take a couple of days.
Yeah.
And if the applicant's not available, just saying we wouldn't have to wait until the first week in May. We could select a day between now and then if we all can agree on a day and time that works for everyone.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the that Utah Public Opens and Meeting Act, Open Meetings Act is very strict and very specific. And the notices have to be published on this this public notice website.
Understand.
That's probably the number one requirement. Plus the land use issues, there are these requirements of sending notices out to the public, and granted, many members of the public don't attend, but it is still required
Oh, I
and makes what we're doing probably challengeable. So and the notice, there's a 24-hour notice requirement on the public notice website, but we have these other issues with the mailing because you gave this date, hearing date. I'm really sorry. So Michael, what day? What days would work for everybody? You got to get what is that? I understand. And, yes, I understand. It's just that, well, it's the public notice website. That's
Yeah, and
nothing I can do about that.
based on reviewing the the city's ordinances, it doesn't look like a mailed notice is required per
Okay.
ordinance, just because it's not a public hearing. It's a public meeting. But we can still
Okay, so.
respect that and send another notice to people as a courtesy. There were 39 letters that went out, so it's not a significant burden to resend them.
Right.
Yeah, the issue is posting on the public notice website.
Right, and that we can do 24 hours in advance. We just
Sure.
have to select the day and time
Yes.
that works.
Well, I'm,
So
want
if it's
to-
more than a few days out, I mean, if we mailed them out today, we could do it Monday would probably be the soonest if you're out of town, or when you get back.
Yeah, I come back Tuesday, then gone a week. I go back and forth to Seattle. My wife
Sure.
is also co-owner on the lot. Since everything's already been kind of discussed, it's just a formality. I can have her sit in as a proxy.
the next week, the only day I'm in town, actually. The only day I'm in town is the 16th. I'm out of town.
That would be Thursday.
That's Thursday. Unfortunately, I'm out of town on the 15th, which I think is
Hmm.
usually your meeting day. And out of town the following Wednesday as well. In town on 29th, Wednesday. And, it's up to you. I would hate to delay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll defer to you guys, whatever I have to do. I'm gone,
Are you here
leaving
the
the-
16th?
leaving the 14th. Yeah, my wife and I are having a baby moon that week. But
Oh.
I'll be back the 29th too. I hate to push it off that long, but if that date works for you, I can make the 29th work.
That works for
Sure.
me, but.
Yeah, that works.
All right.
Same time, 10 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just double check.
Yeah, so the next hearing, I think, can probably make it concise.
Yeah.
All right, well, so for the record, we are having to continue this meeting because of the notice requirements had to post on the public notice website. That didn't happen, so we will continue this to April 29th, 10 o'clock, if that's okay, Mr.
Okay.
Colburn.
Yeah, agreed.
And
Sorry about that.
10 o'clock here. So the other business then. There will still be minutes of this meeting, and as we do, the meetings are prepared and sent to me, and so right now I will approve those minutes, subject to any changes that I may have after I receive them. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Guys. Appreciate the time today. Thank you, everybody. Is there anything else?